What is up, guys? Oh my God, I'm on the other side. Welcome to Truth and Transparency. Today is Thursday. What is it? October 9th, 10th, something like that. Yeah, 9. There you go. Name of this episode, Scott Peterson. Holy. Give him a ring. Scott Peterson, Los Angeles Innocence Project. It's their press release. So I'm going to give you guys a little bit of this, a little bit of that. But holy, 22 years. Scott Peterson convicted in 2004. It is currently 2025, but was arrested in 2003 in April of 2003. And if this channel doesn't, I don't know, bring you as much information as possible about corruption, stuff that we should maybe take another look at. I've known that I've always caught a ton of slack because I'm like, listen, do you understand that Scott Peterson was convicted? Convicted. There was 184 witnesses over the course of, I don't even know how many, 23 weeks, okay? He was convicted off of no physical, forensic, direct, no evidence, nothing. Nothing. This man was convicted because he stuck his dick into Amber Fry. And she went cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs because they only knew each other for 3 weeks and put her and Scott on a family Christmas card. So, but here we go. The LA Innocence Project, why would you take on a case? Why would you know that they're, I want to say winning percentages when they decide that they're going to do something. This is not the overall Innocence Project. This is the LA division, and they are separate. And they take cases on based on forensic, not just the DNA portion. That's going to be all with Barry over there. But this is forensic. There needs to be some forensic evidence. Okay. And so, and there's new evidence. But hey, they put this out. Los Angeles, they took him on. The Innocence Project took Scott Peterson on and became basically his lawyer in November of 2023. Do you understand that we're just in 2025? And what I'm going to tell you, I can't even tell you how many things I have here of Scott Peterson. I already have 2,000 pages. Remember I told you guys about this book? I said you need to go with this book. So I've been really telling you guys for a long time that Scott Peterson is, you can argue with me all day if you want to say he's guilty or not, but I'm saying you would find that man not guilty if you were a juror in the courtroom. But now, hey, why don't we just listen to what they found? Okay, why don't we just talk about what they found? Matt Dalton, by the way, who wrote this book, who was a prosecutor in LA, he became one of Scott Peterson's, he wasn't his attorney, but he was basically his main investigator. He knew Mark Aragos really, really well. He was dealing with a corruption case. When that ended, he's like, man, I need to get out of being a prosecutor. So he jumped right into this, really fond of the Petersons. And literally everything that he found in 2005, well, he found it earlier, but he wrote this book in 2005. A new edition came out in 2025. So what do? I went out and bought it. And I wanted to read it. And it's so awesome because guess who the LA Innocence Project got a declaration for in their habeas filing? Right here. Our boy, Matt Dalton, is in the habeas filing. Scott Peterson has a 129-page declaration. The first time ever that we're hearing from Scott Peterson. It's by Matt Dalton. I keep saying the name. Matt Dalton is the writer. He is the author. Matt Dalton, presumed guilty. All right, so check this out. You don't need to believe me. Believe these people. They win 43% of the time. That's pretty sick. That's pretty sick odds. 43% of the time is pretty sick odds. I'll take 43% anytime that they take on a case. I just believe that Scott Peterson deserves a new trial. He deserves a fair trial. He deserves a trial completely way away from these scumbags that were in the police department that were detectives, that were police officers, that were then prosecutors, and then the one broad became the DA, who was banging the lead investigator in the case for the Scott Peterson case. My heart breaks for Laci's family. You don't want anyone to ever go through something like this again, but Scott has always maintained his innocence. Never has he ever spoken anything other than that. And I'm hoping that if Laci's family loves Laci as much as they say, okay, then you owe it to Laci to literally open up and actually read this material. And don't put a spokesperson out there, or don't let yourself get bamboozled by, hey, come on, and hear and talk and get your, no. You need to read this. If you don't read this and you talk before it, shame on you. Shame on you. You want to talk about bad luck? Sure. Did Scott have some bad luck? Absolutely. But the bad luck was, oh my God, I cannot believe that you went to try the fishing boat in the water because it was a gift. But I would have done the same thing. I can't give a gift if the thing, I haven't even ran it yet. I just bought off this guy on the 11th of December. I have to make sure this thing works before we go ahead and give it to Laci's stepdad as a Christmas gift, right? But they twisted everything. And then the media, these vultures. God, I hope Nancy Grace is haunted for the rest of her life. Nancy Grace. We're not going to feel bad for you. We're not going to continue to feel bad for you. Your man that you're getting ready to marry. Yes, he was murdered. Okay, but that does not give you carte blanche to go do whatever the fuck you want with a microphone in front of your face. Do you understand me? It does not. And stop giving that woman a pass because of that. Okay. Yes, it's awful. Okay, but that does not give you the right to do whatever you want in front of a microphone. Disgusting. So, Nancy, from me to you, listen up, Buttercup. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and make this. Look at that. Hey, guys, I'm right behind you. Don't worry. I'm right here. All right. Los Angeles Innocence Project files petition uncovering new evidence providing or proving rather that Scott Peterson's claims of innocence. So he's always maintained his innocence. Here it is. This is a press release from April 21st, 2025. After more than a year, mind you, this was the press release in 2025. What was filed was in August of 2025. Okay. So after more than a year of investigating, so they did the investigation. The Los Angeles Innocence Project, which is LAIP if you're reading the docs, has presented new scientific evidence and witness statements that undermine the prosecution's case against Scott Peterson. The new evidence is the basis for a petition for a writ of habeas corpus with the California Court of Appeals for the First District. It was filed late Friday, seeking to overturn Mr. Peterson's conviction. But a new one was actually filed in August, and we'll get into that. The filing includes substantial new evidence supporting Mr. Peterson's claim of innocence and demonstrating he was denied his statutory and constitutional rights to due process and a fair trial when the prosecution suppressed and destroyed critical exculpatory evidence prior to trial. So this is why I am all in. When I say truth and transparency is all in on this man's innocence, all in. Not only do I believe that this man deserves a fair trial, I am all in on he is factually innocent based off of the scientific evidence that you guys are going to hear and see this channel put out. This writ of habeas corpus presents new evidence that was not available at the time of the trial, supports petitioner's claim of innocence, and shows he was wrongfully convicted, end quote, the petition states. This new evidence undermines the prosecution's entire, not just part of it, but the entire circumstantial case against petitioner, and shows that the jury relied on false evidence, including false scientific evidence, to convict him. The petition includes a 126-page declaration. I think I said 129, so let me restate that. 126-page declaration by Scott Peterson, detailing his recollection of the events around the death of his wife and unborn child, and refuting the version of events presented by police and prosecutors to obtain a conviction. Now, something I have to say is you guys are not aware of this, okay? But update that layout there. Scott Peterson, he was never being recorded. Like, I didn't know this myself. I was like, how are they getting away with this? How are they getting away? They didn't have any type of recordings. They weren't recording him. Now, if you're trying to get a confession out of somebody, like, you have to be recording, right? That's why, do we really believe that they weren't recording him? Or do we believe that they buried the recordings because they weren't what they said that they were? Come on now. This isn't like, this case isn't from 1980. This case is 2000 and 3, because it is at the end of 2002 when Laci goes missing at Christmas, and that goes to 2003. Okay. Yeah. Wild. So 126 pages. Peterson was convicted in November of 2004. November of 2004 of the murders of his pregnant wife, Laci, and their unborn child, whom they had planned to name Connor. He was sentenced to death in March of 2005. In August of 2020, look at the next date from 2005 is 2020, COVID. In August of 2020, the California Supreme Court vacated his death sentence, and in December of 2021, he was resentenced to life without the possibility of parole. The case against Peterson was entirely circumstantial, the petition states. Despite 11 search warrants, wiretaps, GPS tracking devices, a poll camera outside the home, steady surveillance, and forensic examination of several of hundred of items collected during the execution of those search warrants, end quote, no direct physical or forensic evidence was found supporting any part of the prosecution's theory or otherwise implicating petitioner. Individually and cumulatively, the new evidence presented in this petition eviscerates the prosecution's original case and exonerates the petitioner. Had the jury heard this evidence, it is highly likely they would not have reached a guilty verdict. The evidence supporting Scott Peterson's claim of innocence set forth in the petition includes, so there's 569 pages of that petition, okay? I am reading every single word of it to you guys, and that's in my new episodes that I published for the Scott Peterson. You can catch that tonight at 9 p.m. Right after the big Syray bomb drop that I had before that. But here it is, in this press release, they go ahead and they say, here we go. We're going to give you just a bullet point. Here are your bullet points. New evidence shows, have you guys heard of this before? It is the Medina home. It's the home across the street. There, it was known as the Medina burglary. So the new evidence showing the Medina home across the street from the Peterson's house, okay, was burglarized on December 24th. Prosecutors told this jury that actually took place on the 26th. Can you believe that? Can you believe that you are being lied to and saying that burglary took place on the 26th, so it couldn't have anything to do with Laci? She went missing on the 24th, so get that out of your heads, okay? No. 24th. That's the same day that Laci was reported missing, and not 2 days later on December 26th, as the police claimed and as the jury was told. The police claimed it because they hid evidence. They hid reports. Do you understand this stuff is just now coming out in 2025? New evidence showing others were involved in the burglary besides the two men who ultimately pled guilty to that crime is so important, because one of the guys, he was a 3-strike offender, or he would have been that 3rd strike, which is all, dude, you're done. That's the California 3rd strike. You're out. Being a 3rd striker, this prosecutor cut a deal so that boy Todd Stephen Todd would only serve 8 years. He was supposed to be put away forever. You want to know why? Because it was like, you're going to take full responsibility and we're not going to bring in these other people. And you're going to say that this happened on the 26th. This is sick. This is so sick. Next. Now, new evidence showing others were involved in the burglary besides the two men who were ultimately pled guilty to that crime. So you're going to hear about that in the petition. New evidence showing a witness overheard a conversation among the burglars about Laci, seeing and confronting them. This is what caused all of this to happen. This evidence exonerates Scott Peterson because it shows that Laci was alive when he left home on December 24th. She finally came forward, this woman. Since the burglary took place sometime after the Medinas left and went out of town at 10:30 a.m. Phone records showed, by the way, that the Medinas made a phone call at 10:33 as they were pulling out at the end of their street, and they used cell phone call logs for that. New evidence the jury did not hear, showing there were 3 crimes committed within a 24-hour period, all in close proximity to the Peterson's home, which was number 1 was Laci's disappearance. Then across the street was the burglary. And then guess what? The next morning, on December 25th, the van that was lit on fire and they had to respond to in the morning of Christmas, okay? And that was a van set on fire in the Modesto's Airport District. That was called in just hours after Laci was reported missing, okay? 15 witnesses are talking about a van in this case. The Airport District is where all these methers live, these tweakers. It's a bad area. The evidence shows the detective leading the Laci Peterson missing persons investigation. Remember, it's a missing persons. Laci's missing. Did not investigate the 3 crimes as possibly being related, even though it was like, come on. New evidence directly links the Medina burglars and their associates to the van. Wait till you see what they've uncovered. That was initially set on fire not far from the Petersons' home the morning of December 25th. New evidence the jury did not hear, showing a mattress was found in the back of the van that had apparent bloodstains on it and which tested presumptively positive for the presence of blood. New evidence showing the prosecution suppressed evidence of the police investigation into that van fire at the time of trial. New evidence showing that DNA was found on that mattress. Evidence the prosecution has strenuously refused to subject to more precise DNA testing to determine if there is a link to the crimes in this case. New scientific and medical research developed after Scott Peterson was convicted, showing that the jury based its guilty verdict on scientifically unsound testimony by the prosecution's fetal growth expert. The prosecution's expert based his opinion on a formula from a study published in 1984. Wow, right? 1984. I was born 2 years before that. Look out. And calculated that Connor and Laci died on December 23rd, 2002, the night before Laci was reportedly missing. New scientific and medical research conducted since Peterson was convicted, showing that the science the prosecution's expert relied on is no longer valid. And he admits it himself. I love it. An analysis conducted by the vice chair of the radiology department at Brigham and Women's Hospital in Boston that is based on more recent scientific and medical research and contemporary methods of determining fetal growth refutes the prosecution's expert and places the actual date of death days later, between December 28th and January 5th, clearly indicating that Laci and Connor were killed well after the prosecution claimed, and on a date Scott Peterson could not have possibly committed the crimes, because guess what? The media was swarming that house. Notes from an interview conducted by Los Angeles Innocence Project in December of 2024 with the prosecution's fetal growth expert, during which he admitted had he based his opinion on the more recent 2022 study published by the National Institute for Childhood Health and Development, it would have shown Connor's growth was consistent with a date of a death of January 2nd. He did a bunch of like ways to try to figure it out. And he's like, yeah, I would have to agree. Yep. If I would have had this, then I would be testifying to January 2nd, 2003. Also clearly indicating that the prosecution's timeline of the case is incorrect. Laci was alive. These tweakers had her. They panicked. They didn't know what to do. And if they just would have actually went and looked for her, okay, and treat it like a missing persons from the beginning, and then you can deal with if it's anything other than that once that comes about. They weren't even looking for her. They could have went and hit up their CIs and shit like that and got to this, because it was transient people. It was people that panicked from a robbery, from a burglary. Unbelievable. A new expert analysis based on hydrodynamic modeling of actual historical wind, tide, and freshwater inflow discharge data from the San Francisco Bay in April of 2003, showing that the jury also relied on scientifically unsound testimony by the prosecution's expert, who testified that Connor's body was put in the bay at the precise location where Scott went fishing on December 24th. The new modeling, though, shows that the bodies of Laci and Connor could not have migrated from the area where Scott went fishing to where they were recovered. You want to know why? Because this is what the whole point of forensic scientific evidence, when you talk about experts, it's because of it's not a counterclockwise or a clockwise wind and tide pattern in the water over there. And so that means, like, if you what they did is they did testing and they were putting stuff in it's never going to in a million thousand years end up anywhere where their bodies were. And nobody at trial for Scott, he didn't have any experts. It's like Karen Reed going to trial against the Commonwealth with none of her experts. Karen Reed would have been found guilty with no experts to refute anything of what they were pushing and throwing out. Can you imagine Karen Reed being convicted? Can you imagine Karen Reed being convicted in this past case off of the Blue Man Group? This was all denied back in, girl, there's a new filing in August, Shug, so nothing can be denied in June. So please just shut your mouth. Kick out the unfortunate. Okay? Kick out the unfortunate. Karen Reed would be considered, oh wait, she was hitting on Higgins, kiss Higgins, what a hussy. Without her experts, she goes to jail for murder. Period. End of story. Karen Reed, if she does not have her experts, goes to prison for the rest of her life. Facts. I don't care about her defense team. Okay, look at her defense team wouldn't have been able to get her out of anything without the experts. It's not happening. Nah. Hold on, I can make this bigger. There you go. How do you like that? You guys like that big lettering? Oh, look at that lettering. Oh. Okay. So now I was out in Modesto, if you can recall. I was there November of 2023. So it's just so crazy because the same month that I was there, the Innocence Project signs on Scott Peterson. Who would have thought? Who would have thought? I was probably rubbing elbows when I'm going down to the park. Gabrielle Vargas is chasing me, and I'm like, I'm just trying to see, like, what's going on around here. Laci getting into people's faces. I could just, that would be me, like, being like, what are you doing? take your fucking trash up out of here, you know? Anyways, let's see. So yeah, rather their bodies were most likely placed in the waters off of the Albany Bulb, a peninsula that is accessible by car and foot, which is so true. It came out in that book that I read. New sworn statements by eyewitnesses who reported seeing Laci walking the dog in the neighborhood after Scott left their home on December 24th. Witnesses the police refused to interview. You guys, they have still all of the messages and stuff left. Calling command post, calling into the Laci tip line. And it's just not like one or two. It's 15 people. 15 people. Because guess what? If you're a nosy person and you stay at home and you don't work during the day, all you do is do your dishes, which are always done, and you're acting like you're doing dishes and you're looking out the window so you can be like nosy. Okay, we all know about those nosy neighbors that they are acting like they're doing something, but they're standing by the window. We all know. Okay. Anyways, thank God for those nosy neighbors, but they came forward. You know, these shady ass, disgusting, absolutely disgusting police officers and the prosecutor, they can all go to hell, and they will for what they've done. So they made their reports. Finally, though, because everybody was scared over there, you're getting threatened and shit. Finally, they're getting not only declarations, but they're getting signed sworn affidavits from these people. So the new sworn statements by eyewitnesses who reported seeing Laci walking the dog in the neighborhood after Scott left their home on December 24th. Witnesses the police refused to interview, whose reports are consistent with other eyewitnesses who also reported seeing Laci walking the dog in the neighborhood and nearby park that morning. Reports police also ignored. Okay. These are all documented as well. They buried them. An expert analysis they did of 11 eyewitness reports in this case. There was 15 total, but he took 11 of them, all of which the police refused to investigate, showing that the sheer number of consistent eyewitness reports, all within the same time frame and all within a 1/3 square mile. We're not talking about square mile area around the Petersons' home, provides substantially probative evidence that Laci was seen walking the dog that morning, as Scott told police she was planning to do, further exonerating him of any involvement in the crimes, because guess what? He was not the last person to see Laci Peterson. An analysis by a certified forensic, see this word forensic right here? This is why they took on the case. That word. If we can get forensic evidence. So analysis by a certified forensic document examiner who analyzed handwritten notes from the Petersons' home with information from two, they were like marina supply stores, about the cost of anchors that appeared to be consistent with Laci's handwriting, confirming that Laci and Scott bought the boat together, refuting this whole prosecution theory at trial that Scott had secretly purchased the boat as part of his plan to kill Laci and dispose of her body in the bay. They knew this. You guys all know back in the day when we'd all make our to-do lists, just laying out, man. New evidence by a retired Los Angeles Police Department lieutenant. That'd be like a Ray deciding to come in and work for your team and testify to stuff. You know, protocols and shit. So new evidence by a retired Los Angeles Police Department lieutenant, now a police practices expert, explained that after reviewing the police reports in this case, it is his opinion that the Modesto Police Department's investigation was disorganized, failed to follow basic police procedures that were standard at that time, and was driven by confirmation bias. Police systematically ignored, destroyed, and suppressed exculpatory evidence that, had the jury heard, it would not have reached a guilty verdict. This newly discovered evidence includes Modesto police intentionally destroyed critically exculpatory physical evidence related to the burglary, including videotaped interviews police conducted with two of those burglars the night of the arrest. The evidence shows that the videotaped interviews included details surrounding when and how the burglary occurred. The videotaped interviews were destroyed just 2 weeks after Scott was arraigned on capital murder charges. So January is when they're arrested. That shit does not get destroyed, though, until after he's arraigned. Why? Why didn't they just destroy it after they were arrested and pled guilty and blah, blah, blah? It was right before the defense could request and review them. The prosecution's own records show that on May 6th, key investigators and supervisors on the Laci Peterson case met with the lead investigator on the burglary case for the express purpose of discussing the discovery of audio and video evidence that would be provided to the defense. The very next day, police destroyed the videotaped interviews with the burglars. The Medina's safe collected during that arrest of the burglars, hey, that was also destroyed in May of 2003, before the safe was examined for fingerprints and before the defense could request it and have it forensically examined. False testimony by Modesto police detectives that were no credible witnesses' accounts that Laci had been seen walking with the Peterson's dog after she was supposedly killed, leaving the jury with the impression that no credible information had been presented to police regarding the sightings. I went back and pulled up their interviews. Some of these police officers were on the stand for 2 weeks. Remember how we were talking about in the Karen Reed case, Proctor's on the stand for 2 days? Dude, these dudes, one of them on the stand for 2 weeks straight because they were like Monday through Thursday and then 3 days off Monday through Thursday. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. The Los Angeles Innocence Project continues on by saying, false testimony that police were unable to locate a Croton watch that belonged to Laci. New evidence by a pawn shop owner shows he was contacted by the police about the watch that was pawned at his shop by an associate of one of the burglars on December 31st, just 7 days after Laci was reportedly missing. We have the pawn receipt here. She pawned it only for $20. It could have been sold on eBay for like $7.50. They hit it. Every aspect of the prosecution's theory as to how the crimes in this case were committed has now been shown to be false. End quote. The petition concludes. The new evidence set forth in this amended petition, see that right there, the word amended? Okay, this was filed on August 3rd or 4th of 2025. So anybody talking about anything being dismissed in June and all this crazy ass bullshit, you're a liar in my chat, and you speak like that, you get fucking booted. Okay? Meth heads, just like Moscow. Dude, it's crazy, right? Okay. Get your fucking trash up out of my fucking chat. I love it. Woo. Here we go. So this new evidence set forth in this amended petition shows that the prosecution's entire theory of the case was wrong. In some cases, no one individual error is prejudicial enough to warrant relief, but when there are a number of constitutional and statutory violations, the court will conclude that the errors cumulatively undermine the confidence in the conviction and warrant relief. That is certainly the case here. All of this new evidence is more than sufficient to state a prima facie showing of petitioner's innocence. Dude, that's insane. And it's so true. I love it. I love that they did this in a year and a half. The Los Angeles Innocence Project assumed lead counsel in this case in November of 2023. The Los Angeles Innocence Project advocates for the truth and the justice. For truth, for justice. No matter who the defendant may be or how controversial the case. Take that, bitches. I love it. I love it. Everyone's saying, oh my God, he's so guilty. He's so guilty. Guilty of what? Your fucking husbands do it every day. Every day. Are you still alive? Yep. It's because you didn't have anybody robbing your house the day, across the street, that you're going walking and that you walk over there and get ham with some tweakers. Okay. That area was not a good area. Not a good area at all. But the crazy part is that she was alive. And if they just would have went and looked, because those people weren't killers. They were burglars. And they didn't know what to do. And then somebody did kill. So again, our organization has a team of professionals and experts who follow extensive screening protocols prior to choosing a client. LAIP partners and collaborates with the California Forensic Science Institution and Cal State's LA's School of Criminal Justice and Criminologistics within the Herbert Davis Forensic Science Center. Together, we test the viability, reliability, and accuracy of evidence that had been used to convict the LAIP clients. So, what was Scott Peterson truly convicted on? Absolutely trash. We decided that this case deserved a second look because of issues related to confirmation bias and potential Brady violations committed by the Modesto Police and the County District Attorney's Office that we believe led to Peterson's wrongful conviction. We believe his wrongful conviction. He is factually innocent. Any injustice must be made right. The evidence in this case has been and will continue to be our guide. Awesome. Chewy. I'm going to show you guys something. I don't know what these jurors were doing. I think they wanted to go home. They had a map put up. I'm going to show you guys. Let's see if I can bring in Hector here. Hector, get in here. What you got? And then I'm going to be closing this out so you can join me tonight for the readings. You guys need to get these. The readings are the best. I'll give you a little sneak. Here you go. Now, this is what they were trying to... Okay. This is just on that day. Okay, these were all these sightings. This shit doesn't lie, man. They had all this. They were like mapping this shit, okay? Hold on, let me back that out a little bit. That's a little bit too close. Okay, these. That's where their house was. That's the specific date. That's the date range. Look at all this shit. How do you ignore this? How do you ignore this? And then they listed it all out. And it's of bad quality, but during trial, they have like the date and the time and stuff. But like this wasn't, some of the stuff wasn't able to be shown. And I want to show that. Let's see. Okay, so this is the view. This was an exhibit at trial. So this was the view. So this is the Peterson's house right here. And this is like the walkway up to the house that was burglarized, the Medina's. And so Laci, there's the door that she'd walk out of to like, they didn't have a garage, but they had a gate with a fence, a door, whatever. And that's the type of view. So that's the type of view that the Medina's had. And also that means that type of view that Laci would have had of the house to be able to see what the heck's going on. She knew that they were leaving. She knew that they weren't home. And you're talking about having a nasty ass van and people all huddled up around here in some shitty ass fucking car with some scraggly ass skinheads looking. You know, Laci knows that they're not supposed to be there. Okay. The most compelling part for me with it is, and nobody listened to Mr. Scott Peterson, is when he talked about the kitchen. Laci wouldn't just leave stuff, like if she's going to finish doing what she's doing. So I want you to take a look at, these detectives knew that here, the location of a sandal. Okay, here's the Peterson's house, like right back there. And there was a sandal that was found there. And this judge in the area who lived there was like, oh my God, look at that sandal. I wonder if this has something to do with the, you know, the disappearance, like missing persons. And Officer Banks was just like, no, don't worry about it. Like, let's just continue on going. But when the judge was shown, because he lived in the area, he was shown this and he's like, this is Laci's sandal. And did it look like that? But he was talking all about it. But I want to show you the, oh, where is it? Oh yeah, here we go. Now, the kitchen. So okay. True Crime Matters. I love this lady. She's a sweetheart, you guys. I'm telling you right now. If you want someone to listen to about the case, in the evening time, you know, just to soothe yourself, go give her a like, go give her a subscribe. I'm telling you, you will not be disappointed. She's been on the Scott Peterson case for a while as well. So kudos to her. I just enjoy people that bring it. So got to give her a shout out. Tara, am I saying that right? Or is it Tara? Some people get upset about that. Like, people think I care when people say Lana. I'm like, well, you get to know that it's Lana. But so take a look at this, guys. You know me and my logic here. Okay. So we all know, at one point in time, I'm sure we ever had a Bretta, like, you're going to put water in it and it's going to filter for you. And that way you're going to go to your refrigerator and you're going to open your fridge and you're going to pour your glasses of water, right? Well, Scott told the police, the only thing that I think is weird is why is our Brita out? And then these glasses over here. Now what Laci would do, because they talk about it on the website, is you'd want to take and pour, if you're ever going to put a new filter in, you're going to want to, sift through a couple glasses in at least 3 of them. So here, take a look at this. If 3 glasses are full and there's 1 that's not full, right? I look at this like, if Laci takes the dog for a walk, comes back, okay, and she's about to get a glass of water, right? And she remembers, oh my God, I just put that new filter in. Did I run the water yet through it? Okay, let me just do this just in case. And goes to start pouring her waters, okay? Because she wants to have a glass. So 3 get filled up, and that she's going to then use to water plants or whatever. And then she pours a 4th one, because the 4th one then she can go ahead and drink herself. So she drinks the 4th glass, right? And she can't go any further, okay? She doesn't get to, it's still out, all right? And what I believe, it's because those freaking people, she's like, God damn those guys, I'm going back over there. Because I think maybe before she left, right? Before she left, she said, she went over there and said, you guys need to get the fuck out of here. I know that you're not fucking supposed to be here before I fucking call the cops. Okay. Or maybe the first time she didn't say that she was going to call the cops, but she says, you're not supposed to be around here. Goes, walks the dog, comes back. Because remember, the kid had to go get a friend to help him then get stuff out of there. So then the van comes back. because the Todd kid, he was on bike all the time. So then she sees that the van's now back, and that's when she goes over there. Okay. And that's when it was in the middle of this. She's having her glass of water. She finishes it. She's like, oh my God, that's it. Like, it goes over there. And then voila, here it is. This didn't get to be finished, which is putting this away and taking the 3 glasses that had the water in them and going and putting them and distributing them into your plants. Okay. So Scat says this. Okay. And then I said, okay, well, let's play devil's advocate. Think about this. If she didn't see the burglars, then when did this happen that it got cut in the middle of it? Like, let's play devil's advocate and say, okay, why would this even be out if she would have been able to finish this? You know what I mean? Like the night of or the night before and that morning. What Scott's just like, God, if I see you pour one more damn water like that, I'm just going to strangle your ass. Come on, man. Okay. So for me, there's just so many things, but he mentions this and he's over here talking about, they didn't even dust for prints. They didn't even take the cups. Who knows what they even did. But you want to know what the argument is? You want to know what the argument was for the cops? Well, if, why didn't they basically take anything of Laci's? If they're going to, and then once there was a $1,000 and a $5,000 and a $50,000 and a $500,000 reward, why didn't, we'll go back and pay attention to those dates. And what do you mean you want people to come forward? Come forward and do what? Say that I have her here, give me the money. You think that like these people are tweakers? They're all paranoid. If they would have went and knocked on some doors, though, I bet you things would have been different. So yeah. This house was just pristine. If you go through all this, which again, come join me later, but I just think stuff like that, this boat cracks me up, man. You guys, this boat is tiny. Okay. If she was, you guys know the Shanann Watts case, okay? Shanann Watts being put in the back of Chris's truck. What the dog went crazy, right? Like, come on. Nothing wrapped up in a tarp. Nothing from that tarp wrapped up in the cover of the boat. That boat cover, I have one in pristine condition with the loops. It would never look like that if you drove 90 miles at 80 or 70 on the highway. Okay, that stuff starts to fray. He didn't even have boat straps to tie down the boat cover. That would be blown away. Okay, like, it's just logic. I mean, this is just ridiculous. Okay, absolutely ridiculous. And the thought everybody had is like, well, where Laci and Connor ended up, like, it's right where he said he went fishing. Well, why would he ever say he went fishing if he killed them and put them in the water? I mean, that's got to be pretty dumb, right? Also, he never lied about where he went. Do you guys know that Scott Peterson wasn't the one that made the 911 call? It was the stepdad. And the first sentence that he says out of his mouth for the 911 call is, my son-in-law, he went golfing. He didn't even talk to him. He talked to Laci's mom. And he just assumed. And that's why I want Laci's mom and the family to do the right thing. You guys know that Scott didn't tell you that. You know he didn't say that he went golfing. You know? And so it's just really, really hard, like, when you actually read this stuff and how they twisted everything. So yeah, after everybody knows where he went, his alibi was put out there on December 25th and then totally highlighted on December 28th that he was out there. And then They lie to Scott and say that nobody saw you out at the marina. So what does Scott do? He's trying to go out to the marina. Meanwhile, his car is being GPSed. And they then use against him to say, well, you were going out there all those days to try to see if they would, if their bodies were coming up, and trying to see if they had washed up ashore and blah, blah, blah. Are you kidding me? No. He went out there because you guys lied to the public, to him, saying that nobody saw him. Dude, 2 people for sure saw him. And they said it. And they said, yes, I saw a guy that was backing his truck up and, he ran it into the damn dock. And that's exactly what Scott said. That you're probably going to find the guys getting a good chuckle out of me, the maintenance guys backing my boat up into the damn side. And guess what? Guess what's on the side here? Ready for this part? There's the wood flakes in what the, what that siding of a dock is like. And they had like red in it. Well, guess what? If he would have had his boat cover over his boat, okay? I know this is a boat owner. And you said that he kept the boat cover on while he's putting in his boat into the water, and then waited and then started undoing the boat cover as he's going off. Well, guess what, people? He would have never been able to get the wood chippings would have hit the boat cover, not his boat, when he hit into the side of the dock. I mean, you can't have it every way that you want. But there's just, this case is the definition of take the Richard Allen case on steroids. I mean, this case needs to be put in front of a new jury, a new judge, and it needs to be played out for the world to see, okay? Because all we had to go off of was mainstream media trying to tell us what was happening in that courtroom, and it was all lies. All lies. So come back and join me tonight. But give props where props is due. The Los Angeles Innocence Project, they took so much hot water for taking on Scott Peterson. And if you don't believe me, type it in. Okay. Here, you know what? I'm going to give a nice big shout out to Nancy Grace in a FU way. Okay, Nancy? Nancy, I'll debate you any day on this case, anywhere, any platform, you name it. Okay, I'll own you. Okay, we'll get wild with it. Shit, we can do this shit at CrimeCon if you want, because I'm sure Scott, you guys are all going to want to beg to have Scott Peterson at your CrimeCon, which I hope he tells you guys to all royally go shove it. But let's remind everybody what Nancy Grace did for years and continues to do. So here you go. If you put Nancy Grace in, go ahead, type it all in. Nancy Grace, Scott Peterson. And this is back in the day. Let's go to her. Where is she type? Let's go to. Here you go. Ready?
Peterson, you know what you need to address, Garagos? You need to address the in and out order, which I think should have come into evidence. This is about 10 minutes after your client, Scott Peterson, is told, Peterson, the DNA has come back. That dead body that washed up, it's Laci. Under 10 minutes, Peterson asked to go to In-N-Out and orders a double with cheese, small fries, and a vanilla shake.
Welcome to the Two Angry Men podcast. I'm Harvey Levin.
You know, I almost feel, because I'm looking at Nancy Grace here, like you should be saying I'm Larry King, because that's how far back I go.
I go back that far with...
I can't believe that Mark Garagos did a podcast with this hoe. I have no problem saying that. I cannot believe, if you're Mark Garagos, that you would ever give this woman the time of day. Ever. And at first, hold on one second. I believe, hold on. I thought this was the other one. Oh boy. Oh boy, where's that? I want her old school one that she did with Larry King. They probably took it all down. Her old school one. Come on, where is it? Ah. Oh. No. She probably's all clearing her stuff. Oh, wait, here we go. No. Oh, here.
But you couldn't pay me enough money to defend.
And what you know, I know you're great at prosecuting things. If you had to, could you defend Scott Peterson?
No, I went to law school, but you couldn't pay me enough money to defend Scott Peterson. I'd rather go out there and sweep the streets before I would defend Scott Peterson.
Oh, Nancy.
And what you know, I know you're great at prosecuting things. If you had to, could you defend Scott Peterson?
No, I went to law school, but you couldn't pay me enough money to defend Scott Peterson. I'd rather go out there and sweep the streets before I.
That's what she thinks about all you street sweepers out there. All right, we'll see you guys in the next one. See you tonight. Thank you so much, moderators, subscribers, lurkers. Love y'all. See you on the next one.